Patty here, and we are going to be looking at the 3.24 patch notes for Path of Exile Necropolis. This is the newest season, league, cycle, whatever nomenclature you want to use for Path of Exile. Looks like Necropolis is the challenge league. We're going to be having this Undertaker Aramore guy that wants us to collect spirits from around. We're gonna choose monsters to haunt with some lantern that he gives us, and that is going to allow us to collect souls, and then looks like we take the corpses to the necropolis and we bury them, and then we excise them, and then we get to forge items from their souls. So I don't know how this is gonna work, but it looks like we utilize some mechanic to haunt monsters, and we kill them, we collect their corpses, and then we go and we do something, and we can potentially forge items from their souls, maybe crucible style. I don't know. It'd be nice to see what they do with that though, but I like that more than just drop random things. All right, new content and features. We got some new uniques that we need to look at. We got new intelligence support gem, Sacred Wisp, wand, does something, we don't know. New automation support gem for instant dexterity, new call to arms support gem for strength. We got transfigured versions of artillery ballista, elemental hit, ice shot, incinerate, kinetic blast, poison, concoction, holy ghost, and tornado. So we got a whole slew of new skills here to play with. We got a new Veiled Scarab currency, which we get a random scarab from. Veiled Chaos Orbs, and we renamed to Veiled Orbs, and then now remove a random modifier and add a random Veiled modifier. Veiled Orbs are no longer a world drop, they drop from Katarina, and no longer offer visual rewards for the league content. So this is just some changes to the Veiled Chaos Orb currency and the location from which it drops from, which is Katarina. The following items now have stack size 20. I think they were 10 before. Okay. We've got 14 new unique items, new minimap icon for strong boxes. That's nice. Pantheon powers upgraded with Divine Vessel will now be applied to all your characters. So that's just a little bit more alt-friendly activities. Small improvements and some prizes to the campaign. I don't know what that is. Yeah, I'm excited for new uniques. Alternate art unique items can now be converted to account-bound microtransactions. That's kind of cool. 374 more foiled tier 17 Valdos maps, which means that there is 373 Valdos maps that no one will run and one that people will want to run. 73 more foiled unique item options from the Voidborn Reliquary. This is a special key that you get just randomly drops, and when you go into the map, it just drops a foiled version of an item. A foiled version is like Pokemon Magic Gathering foiling. It's just like the original art, and it's shiny. The witches received an audio dialogue. I don't care. Trade notification sound, shield crush from Chieftain, receive new visual effects. Okay. Skill art for Incinerate. Okay. Some sound art effects and environments. Okay. In-game improvements. And 3.2 Cold Minute before changes to the in-game, including new bosses, another tier of maps, with T17 maps. The most difficult and most rewarding content is Uber Pinnacle bosses, such as maybe the same metric. XR currently the only way to get the bosses by allocating specific keystones to the Atlas passive tree system. It causes a problem. Rewards and access to the non-Uber variants are now economically priced around the rewards of the Uber fights. This means it's wasteful to run the non-Uber variants instead of simply selling them. That's true. All they did was state a fact here. That all they did here was say it's wasteful to run non-Uber variants. Rewards and access to the non-Uber variants are now economically priced around the rewards of the Uber fights. I don't know what that means. Maybe it means that we're going to get better rewards from the non-Uber variants, or maybe it means that it takes less fragments to do a non-Uber variant. I don't know what that means. They don't really describe much, right? The difficulty just between Pinnacle and Uber Pinnacle content was relatively large, and there wasn't obvious content available that could bridge this gap. Many players were in the give up on their character before being able to defeat Uber Pinnacle bosses. That's also a fact. I don't see an improvement here. I just see a statement of fact. We'll have to see what they mean with this whole thing. Maybe there's more than one level of boss, or maybe the rewards are scaled different. I don't know. They didn't. This is not useful information. The cosmic wounds, thirst for knowledge, station for development, for storm are now removed. Instead, we've added a new set of fragments when we used to access the pinnacle. Okay, so yeah, so the non-Uber Pinnacle versions are accessed with base fragments, and then the Uber Pinnacle versions are accessed with different fragments. And these fragments can be obtained with the new T17 maps that they're adding. Well, this patch notes is very poorly put together. T17 maps of 20% quality and are unmodifiable. There are 5 new T17 maps for each of their bosses. An existing unique item has been removed from the core drop holes, now exclusively has a chance to drop from these bosses. The unique items have been rebalanced. The Dark Seer Unique Scepter now has +2 to all spell skill gems, +1 to 2 mana per level, +1 to 2 energy shield per level, and all rest 46% inclusive. The Divine Orb can be used to obtain the updated values on existing items. Enemies blinded by you have malediction. This change applies to existing items. So the Dark Seer Unique Scepter now is potentially more valuable in some builds. Malachi's Endurance Frenzy and Power Buffs from Malachi's Mark Unique Gloves now have a 10% chance to grant Endurance Frenzy or Power Charge and hit respectively. Is a 20% chance on kill. So this is a straight buff to Malachi's Mark Unique Gloves. They're now chance to grant on hit instead of on kill. The Mana Storm Unique Shield now has increased recovery from blast, gain mana from enemy killed. It now has more maximum mana. It now has more maximum mana regeneration rate. It no longer has increased energy shield. When you cast a spell, it now sacrifices all mana to add maximum lightning damage equal to 50% of sacrificed mana for 4 seconds. Previously, it was 25%. This is a mostly straight up buff to Mana Storm. The Wraith Lord Unique Helmet, not to be confused with Last Epoch's Wraith Lord Helmet, now has 4 Abyssal sockets, +1 in the maximum number of specters per socketed Ghastly Eye Jewel. Ooh. This is a straight up buff. +1 to 2 level to all minion skill gems, previously +2 to level socketed gems. These changes do that. This is a legit buff. That's strong. We're gonna start seeing some Spectre summon builds from old Spectres with this that will be very good. The Yoke of Suffering now has enemies take increased damage for each type of element you have inflicted on them. So that is a straight buff. The Yoke of Suffering. Uber Pinnacle bosses have completely different, distinct, unique item drop pulls for the non-Uber counterparts, providing a reason to farm both versions. It depends on whether or not the non-Uber counterparts drop anything that anyone cares about. We've also made a few tweaks to the unique Uber Pinnacle boss fights. Their difficulties are more balanced with one another, so maybe Maven's easier and Shaper Elder's harder. I don't know. In order to challenge the Uber versions, you must successfully defeat their non-Uber versions. Okay. Place 5 of the same fragment, so you have to do it 5 ways in order to get to the Uber Pinnacle. You no longer need to worry about arranging the fragments in the right order. Who fucking cares? It's now unlocked. Oh, by completing a tier 17 map, no more 5 ways. You can now unlock your map device with just a tier 17 map. Void Stones each now provide tier 16s have a chance become a tier 17 map for each socketed Voidstone. This just allows you to Voidstones access more T17. That's fine. Sextant and Master Mission Removal. With every expansion increasing complexity of maps, it's at the point now where a player must repeatedly execute a large sequence of steps to run maps efficiently. It is easy to forget critical steps and it can be tiring to repeat. It's fair. To solve this, removing Sextant and Master Mission Selector systems and putting significantly more power into Scarabs and Atlas Tree. That's good. You can no longer earn blah 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 missions, and the accessibility of masters has been significantly increased with changes to the Atlas skill. That's okay. Sextants and Surveyor compasses are out of the game. That's good. Existing craft will be converted to Veiled Scarabs. That's fine. Previous sources of Sextants and then replaced with Scarabs. That's good. I like that. All good changes. Easier mapping. No more need for Sextant scaling. Grind ultimatums that require awakened sextants. Now requires that. That's fine. This is just all awakened sextants are gone. So bye-bye sextants. More benefit from scarabs. This is a positive thing. Sextants were annoying. Charged compasses were annoying. Buying them was annoying. Using them was annoying. This is good. Scarab rework. We've completely reworked scarabs, including any options that were previously covered by the sextant and the master missions and mechanics. You might come across some scarabs that simply grant access to different content, others that cause the content to grant better rewards, and these monsters have more experience. Each type of scarab now has multiple versions, so if you want to fully invest in a single type of content, you can. All scarabs are now world drops, no longer have tiers. Some might be rarer than others, but the intention here is that there will be a lot more options than before. That's fair. It's good. In addition to reworking the current scarabs, we've also introduced 20 new scarabs. That's good. I mean, nothing real complicated here. We need to see what they actually are, but all of this is good. All of this is positive. This makes doing maps less complex and possibly more rewards and possibly better selection of the map content you're going to encounter. Maven invitations no longer drop. Instead, when you have witnessed all the required bosses to enter Maven's arena, speak to character, open the map device window with the invitation already placed in there, ready to be modified. Existing Maven invitations will be deleted. All those maps have a chance to convert maps. Now have a chance to convert. Okay, this is fine. This is just a simplification of the Maven invitations. Maven invitations are just part of the content for building your Atlas passives and fighting some of the harder content in the game. Simplification is good. I like it. Atlas Tree passive changes. To provide more flexibility with what content you want to run in the interlude, this is long. To provide more flexibility in what content you want to run in the in-game, you've added the ability for multiple Atlas Tree sets. Big, huge thumbs up. You can label your sets to easily identify which one has which content. You can unlock 2 extra sets for a total of 3 by progressing through in-game and completing 4 content. Phenomenal changes. Thank you. Really appreciate it. For people who are watching that don't know what Atlas Tree passives are, one of the ways that you determine the content that you're doing in the end of the game is through the Atlas Tree. The Atlas Tree modifies the maps you're doing. So for the Last Epoch followers that are watching right now, when you do a map or an echo in Last Epoch, it has random content in it. If Last Epoch had an Atlas passive tree, the Atlas passive tree would modify the content you see in that echo. Like maybe you're looking for monsters that drop a lot of helmets. Well, you would adjust your Atlas Tree passive to include monsters that drop a lot of helmets, for example. Now the Atlas Tree in this one, it's gonna affect the content, whether it be Betrayal or Expedition or Harvest. It'll be the small mini content you see in each map that can adjust and affect the drops that you get from the map. So like if you really want scarabs, you have your Atlas Tree to give you a higher chance to drop a lot of scarabs. And having extra sets of the Atlas Tree means that maybe you have one Atlas Tree for farming scarabs and one Atlas Tree for farming expedition and one Atlas Tree specifically for farming maps. And then you can adjust, you can quickly switch between them rather than having to rebuild an entire skill tree every time you want to do it. So that's good. During the Acropolis League, there'll be support for the league in the Atlas Passive Tree. Okay, so this just means that there will be Atlas Passive Tree skills that adjust for additional Necropolis League content and modify the Necropolis League content. A new passive stone with all corpses with unresolved English new maps reveals a random craft and buried. All right, so these are just some of the new Atlas passive tree things. Seventh gate grown hordes, all hands have been removed. So we've got a whole new Atlas passive tree. Number of additional bosses summoned by destructive play is now higher if there are fewer monsters running in the map. Well, so there's a lot of little changes here for improving the Atlas passive tree. We're not going to go over every single change here. This is just an overview of the patch. We're trying to keep this short and to the point. You can read each individual line here, and if you have questions, just like drop a comment down in YouTube or come see me on Twitch, and we can talk about those changes. But a lot of changes to the Atlas passive tree here, new Delve clusters, bestiary cluster change, so on and so forth. So this is all potentially really good. We won't know until we're actually in the game and using it, whether it's good or not. But this change up here, total of three Atlas passive, three phenomenal change. Best change, Path of Exile in like years. They're very, very good. League changes. Essence Monoliths and White Mask can now spawn a maximum tier of Screaming, while those in yellow or red can spawn at the maximum tier of Shrieking. This is a nerf to Essence farm. Previously, you could farm the best essences in the game in tier 1 maps. This is going to adjust the value of essences up, and it will adjust the difficulty of farming those essences up, which just means that like low-powered characters or league start characters lost access to an easier way to make money, and they're going to have to push a little bit harder to make that money. And so you'll need a little bit stronger character because you'll want to be doing yellow or red maps in order to spawn Shrieking. Not a big deal. Probably a positive change overall. The bestiary recipe for gaining one of each Atlas mission now say probably should be 5 character missions. Again, this is just some changes to support the new master changes in the maps. Obviously, scarabs are now more of a thing. These used to have like sextants and stuff like that on them. So we've got more access to scarabs, divination cards, blah, blah, blah. Now instead of drop stacked decks, that's fine. It's a different kind of randomness. So instead of a random divination card, we get a stacked deck that drops a random divination card. I like that stacked decks have become a very good base currency along with Chaos Orbs, though. Fast hands and breaches now open you walk near them. For people who don't know, that's freaking great. Breach splinters are now also the only ones that have a chance to drop from these chests. That's fine. Two new harvest crafting changes. One stack of fragments of shape into fragments of knowledge. Para into emptiness. Stack of fragments of terror. Did I miss something? I don't know what the hell fragment. Omens are now offered as ritual rewards. That's actually kind of nice. Omens are old league content that were added that do some really good things, like Mechanic Force Lock lets you predict the next craft on an item. Really valuable. Omens as a reward for rituals just makes ritual work a little bit more. I don't know what fragments of terror and chaos are. I could be just blanking fragments of terror. PoE. Oh, well, it's the elder map fragment. That's fine. You can now get some non-Uber boss fragments that convert from one to another with harvest changes. I don't know why that's in league changes. That's okay. Atlas changes. Synthesized maps now drop from bosses in map T14 or above. They're now level 81. So synthesized maps are now all the higher level version. There's no more low level version of synthesized maps, and they drop only in tier 14 or higher. The unique core text can no longer drop from Atlas. It is obtained as a reward from other league content. Map sub-areas no longer have +1 to area level. That's an interesting change. Not a big deal, though. Synthesized maps Map bosses and maybes application have forgotten. Now have a chance to draw a unique Cortex synthesized map. So this is where you get the Cortex synthesized map. Cortex synthesized is essentially the Uber version of the Forgotten. Basically, following mats have been removed from the apps. Following mats have been added back. This is just a change in the layouts. They do this every week. Not a big deal. They took away City Square, which is going to make some people happy or unhappy. They took away Mesa, which is going to make some people unhappy. They did not take away Jungle Valley, though, which is the most popular map. So Jungle Valley still is. I don't remember which of these maps is a good comparison to Mesa and City Square. We'll figure it out. Map tiers and locations have been shuffled. That's fine. Some of the map bosses you're required to defeat to upgrade your Pantheon have changed. Fine. Crafting recipes have changed. That's fine. Divination cards are found in your homes. That's fine. The gentleman can now be found in the arsenal map. The safe can now be found in the portals. The tireless factory can now be found in the foundry and floors of the Phoenix. Good. Current mods. Typically, map crafting options are available at the map device. Rotate each league. All the options that would usually rotate in and out are now available at the map device. They did take away the seventh gate, so no longer do you have the option to have all map crafting options available. So we are limited to, unless they added it somewhere else, we are limited to these are the map crafting options that are available this season. As far as there's just Anarchy, Torment, Domination. This is Rogue Exiles, Torment Experience, Shrines, Essences, Blight Encounters, Ritual Encounters. I mean, standard stuff here, nothing complicated. Ambush is still in, that'll make people happy. Harvest is still in, that'll make people happy. Delirium is still in, that'll make people happy. Abyss is still in, that'll make people happy. These are all standard farming. Essence is still in. I mean, no real big changes there. Player balance. The Soul Eater buff was reworked. This now has a maximum of 45 souls. This is a straight nerf to Headhunter. Straight nerf to Headhunter. That's going to make some Magic Find builds very unhappy. It's also a nerf to Soul Eater in general, but maximum chance to block attack damage, spell damage can no longer be raised above 90%. No more 100% block builds. Sorry, guys, you're going to get hit. Instant skills can no longer be bound to left click. That sucks. That is one of the worst changes that I've seen in a while. Just kind of hanging out all on its own down here, just being shitty. Previously, some skills you just want to cast all of the time. Maybe you want to detonate your mines all of the time. Maybe when you throw mines out, you just throw boom. You want it to do that. Or maybe you want to use phase run on cooldown. Like you want to phase run your ass off. You bind it to left click. And then when it's not on cooldown, you're moving. And when it's on cooldown, it uses it. Can't do that anymore. This is a shit change. This is going to make, number one, it just takes away a button. You've only got 10 buttons that you have access to without using a modifier like control. And they took a button away. Now left click can only be used for movement and non-instant skills. It's terrible. I don't know why they did that. You're forcing people to automate with numlock or auto hotkey or botting programs. Like you're telling people we don't like that you're automating this feature, so we're going to take it away from you. So now you're going to have to automate it a different way. Not a good change. Not a good change at all. Unholy buff. Unholy Might buff no longer grants physical damage as extra chaos damage and now provides 100% of physical damage converted to chaos damage and 25% chance to apply whether on hit. It's a buff to some builds, it's a nerf to some builds, it's a change in playstyle. Not bad, not good, just is what it is. Skill gem changes. Monster life increases in tier 17 maps, no longer apply to the life of corpses in those maps. So that means tier 17 maps are harder, but Detonate Dead does not work as well. Increases in reductions to minion damage now also apply to Absolution of Inspiring's damage at 250 buff to Absolution of Inspiring. Animate Guardian of Smiting. These are all skill gem change. Animate Guardian of Smiting. Guardian now deals 30% more damage with Smiting ability. Straight buff. Maximum of 6 animated weapons. Straight buff. Archmage support can no longer support brand or orb skills. No longer has supported skills gain added lightning damage to go 75% straight nerf. They now have supported skills get added 10% of unreserved mana up to 19% at level 20. It now has the supported skills have added mana cost 5% of unreserved mana, and quality now increases. I straight nerf. Uh, changes builds. It completely dismantles current builds using it the way it was originally intended. Opens up other building opportunities. We'll not call it a straight nerf. We'll call that changes builds. Ball lightning is static can no longer be used by totems. Straight nerf. Blade blast of dagger detonation now deals added spell damage equal 200% of damage of equipped dagger at gem level 1. Scaling up to 670 straight buff. Blade flurry of incision now is 35% more critical strike. Straight buff. Blade trap with great swords. Straight buff. Blade vortex of scythe. Straight buff. No one will use these, but they are buffs. Blade arrow of prismatic clones. Sure, it's above, but who cares? Cleave of Rage. That's a nerf. This was my build last season. It's a little nerf. It'll still cover the whole fucking screen. It's fine. No problem. I might run this build this league. Even with the nerf. Because maybe less people will be playing it because of the nerf, and I do like playing non-meta builds. Divine Ire of Holy Lightning. First now deals 100% more damage per hit in the stage after the first. Buff. Has 20% less area of effect. Buff. Buff to something no one's using. Dominating Blow of Inspiring. Buff. Essence Strain of Desperation. 50% more damage over time at all gym levels. Now has lose. That's a nerf, but no one was using it. Explosive Concoction of Destruction now has increased crit buff. Explosive Trap of Shrapnel now has buff. Exsanguinate of Transmission now costs 16 life at gem level 1. It's down up to 46 at gem level 20. Now it's cast time of 0.8, previously 0.7. Now 60%, previously 55. Now there's 4 to 5, scaling up to 268 401, previously 3 to 7. Now it's base physical damage. 26 plus 23, scaling up to 1256, 11, 21 buff, down to 6 times, previously 12. Scaling up to 10, previously 21. Nerf. Buff to single target, nerf to clear, although I don't think the nerf to clear is as significant as it looks, because 10 targets is still a metric fuck ton of targets. Firestorm of Pelting now has 10 firestorms in time, previously 8. That's a buff. Flame Surge of Combusting, Burning Ground now deals 35% of fire damage per second. That's a buff. Flicker Strike of Power, buff. Crossblade of Catabasis. Now deals 20% more cold damage over time. Buff. Frostblink. Buff. Frostblink Wintry Blast. Let's see if it gets nerfed. Spell's cast time is added to its cooldown and trigger. Nerf. Nerfed into oblivion. No more Frostblink of Wintry Blast nonsense. Galvanic Field of Intensity now fires a beam every 0.3 seconds. Buff. General's Cry now has a cooldown time of 3 seconds at all generals. Buff. Ice Crash at Cadence, now 80% more damage with main hand weapon buff. Kinetic Bolt of Fragmentation was another broken skill. No longer has apply to attack damage at 200% value. Quality now causes projectiles to change direction, 0 to 1 time. It now has 55% increased straight nerf. Straight nerf, but not to Oblivion. It's still probably good. Increasing the reduction of spell damage will also apply to attack damage from the skill at 200%. It is a straight nerf. I don't know if it's Oblivion or not, but it could be. Lancing still spraying, now fires 6. At gem level 1 up to 8. At gem level a minor nerf. I don't think that affects him. Lightning Arrow of Electrocution, no one was using. Buff. Lightning Spire. Buff. Mirror Arrow of Prismatic Clones. Buff. Penance Brain of Dissipation was another broken build. Now activates every 0.75 seconds. Small nerf. Has 50%, previously 65% small nerf. 16 to 24, previously 20 to 30, small nerf. 231 to 347 from 432, small nerf. Pulses now deal 30% more damage with hits, previously 60%. Significant. Overall, moderate nerf to Penance Brand of Dissipation. It will still probably be an incredibly strong build. Power Siphon of the Archmage. No one was using it. Now does it 50% of maximum damage at 1, previously 10. Small buff. Rain Arrows of Artillery. Small buff. Ray Spectre of Transients. Now has a maximum of 4 Ray Spectre. Small buff. But that took away all the Spectres, so who cares? Raise Zombie of Falling. Zombies created are no longer reusable by Detonate Dead. That's Garbo. Garbo. Nerd. But Scourge of Menace now has each spore pod fires 4 tornadoes instead of 5. Small nerf, insignificant. Field Crush of the Chieftain now has a small buff. I actually built this build, and it's pretty fun. And so this more area of effect instead of more damage could be good for the build. Shrapnel still was small buff to a skill no one's using. Sniper's Mark, overpowered ability. Now it causes cursed enemies to take 10% increased damage at level 1, unchanged, scaling up to 29% small nerf. Projectiles which hit now split towards 2 additional at all gem levels. Scale up orbital. Significant nerf to Sniper's Mark. Still unbelievably good, but not as ridiculous as it was. Mark of Unpredictability now has 190%, was 160. Small buff damage. Sure. No one's using it though, really. Spectral Crow Materializing. Spectral Crow Materializing now has 200%. Small buff for skill no one's using. Swollen Brain of Indecision now has effectiveness of added damage, 60%. Cast time of 0.75. Nerf. I don't know if anyone was using this. I didn't see any builds. But it got moderate nerfs. Summon Raging Spirit, no longer naturally gain damage as it levels. Huge nerf. Summon Chaos Golem of the Maelstrom, now deals 30% more damage. Small buff for something that no one's using. Summon Flame Golem of Meteor. Golem's Meteor does 50% more damage. Buff to this one, not that I know no one was using it. Ice Golem was Shattering. Buff to this one. Summon Skeleton of Archers, more damage buff. Golem of Safeguarding. Yes, 15% of melee damage taken from the stone golems. That gives a small buff. Tornado Shot, the most OP skill in the game for several seasons now. Now has an attack speed multiplier of 80% of base, 20% loss in damage straight. Now uses the same bow animation as the Puncture skill gem. And now has a mana cost of 10, previously 8, scaling up to 12, previously 10. Quality now provides 0 to 40% increase projectile speed instead of fires 1 additional secondary projectile. Overall, I would say that is a moderate nerf to Tornado Shot. Tornado Shot will still be a top tier build. Quality now provides corpses spawned. I think the Headhunter, the Soul Eater nerf, is way bigger hit to Tornado Shot than this nerf is. Unearthed, I mean, it's a nerf, but who cares? It's not significant. Void Spirit Rending now pulses every 0.3 instead of 0.4. Small buff, volatile dead. After reaching the maximum number of orbs at a time, the oldest existing orbs no longer explode. They simply killed. Huge nerf. Completely deletes some of these builds. Ascendancy changes. Sentinels of Radiance now deal fire damage based on 20% of its maximum life per second, previously 30% of its maximum life per second. Small nerf. Mindless Aggression. Ascendancy no longer causes minions to have 10% increased movement speed, attack speed, and cast speed. It causes them to deal 30% increased damage. Instead, now causes them to deal 10% more damage at 20% normal. Small buff, small change. Not much of a difference. 10% more is probably better than 10% attack and cast speed and 30% increased damage. But you lose the movement speed, but you gain life. I don't know. Good change. A little bit of simplification of the skill. Probably doesn't affect too many builds very much. The Bone Barrier Ascendancy passive skill no longer grants level 20 bone armor skill. It no longer provides 2% increased recovery rate of life and minion up to 20%. Or minions have 20% more max life. Instead, it provides minions that 40% of life out of its extra energy shield and 1% of damage dealt by minions reached you as life. This is a very, very, very positive change. This will open up some new build opportunities on Necromancer. Passive group. The Call to Arms key passive has been renamed. Yeah, that's why we do the videos, Ducky. The Call to Arms Keystone passive skill has been renamed the Warlord's Call. Now provides war cries no longer exert attacks, and war cries also grant their buffs to nearby allies. Previously, war cries, no more war cries are instant. War cries are no longer instant, which means left click war cries you can still do because they're not instant. I guess. Grants buff to nearby allies, maybe. Pet skills, more viable with war cries, maybe? I don't know. Added a new energy shield mastery. 50% of your energy shield is added for stun threshold, which replaces stun threshold is based on 60% of your energy shield life. This kills cast when stunned builds. This kills walking simulator cast when stunned builds. You just deleted an entire genre of builds. Bye. Also kills Blood Notch and Immutable Force recovery, probably. Maybe we find a better way to use those. I don't know. Added a new mine mastery. Detonate mines is triggered while you are moving. That, as we complained about the instant on left click, this fixes the instant on left click. That's a good change. The Forethought notable passive skill no longer has 15% mana regeneration rate and now has 30% increased maximum mana. The small passive skill Fire now has 10% increased maximum mana. That's just a good change. The more maximum mana instead of mixing mana and regen. The Dreamer notable skill no longer provides 20% and now has 30% increased mana regeneration. And just kind of pulling those two nodes apart, but you still have all of the stuff. Ralakesh's Impatience no longer provide 30% increased move speed. That's a straight nerf to a very overpowered boot. The Soul Ascension unique gloves no longer have lose an eaten soul every 3 seconds, while no unique enemies in the presence on maximum 50 souls. It now has eat a soul when you hit a rare unique enemy, no more than once every 0.5. These changes apply to existing beats. Small change, maybe make them a little bit more usable. The Extractor Mentis unit game mode now provides 10% chance to gain Chaotic Might for 10 seconds. Previously, 30% Fizz. 10 seconds. Now provides a 10% chance to gain Chaotic Might for 10 seconds on kill. Previously, Unholy Might, because they nerfed Unholy Might or adjusted it Chaotic Might is now what Unholy Might was. For pets. The Iron Mask unique sword no longer has a chance to inflict Withered for 2 seconds on hits, as this is provided by the Unholy Might buff now. It's changed, but now has increased fizz damage and improved existing items can now be updated. I don't know very many builds that were using this anyway. It's okay. Stacked decks, Diviner Strong boxes, and Divination cards obtained as rewards from various content can no longer drop Divination cards for boss exclusive unique items. Stacked decks value hugely plummeted. The Void is now considered a boss exclusive. Scrolls of Wisdom can now be used on items that are corrupted. As a result of this, most items that previously dropped identified now drop unidentified. Okay. Flasks can now be corrupted, adding a random quality value. That's fun. I like that. Now we can make 30% flasks with Vol Orbs, or we can melt a whole bunch of flasks. This will actually improve the flask economy, making better flasks more valuable, and people can now make flasks and sell them as a currency. Because you'll need a bunch of good flasks to vol them to get your 30% flask. Veiled modifier that provides reduced mana cost spells during effect can no longer be unveiled or crafted on flasks. This is a straight nerf to a whole lot of builds. Straight nerf to a whole lot of builds. Maybe Sapphire and Topaz flasks no longer grant 20%. This also nerfs Mage Club a lot. They now grant 5% maximum resistance. They now provide 40% of their respective resistance. This is a huge straight nerf to survivability. Also a huge straight nerf to Mage Blood. Also a huge straight nerf to Pathfinder. Slaying enemies close together are replaced and no longer roll. Straight nerf to Beyond Farming. Corruption outcome for maps that the corruption outcome for maps that unidentified the item and the outcome had been implicit. Okay. There are now 3 tiers of additional armor resistances during effect suffix modifiers on class with values 18 and 20. So lower tiers have less resistances. The Joel suffix, this just means you have to use higher level blasts. You can't use low level blasts. The Joel suffix modifiers that grant 3 to 5%. There's mana cost is getting hammered. They want you to, they really are changing how we're going to be using mana on skills. Added a set of modifiers that cause strong boxes getting to additional scarabs. Okay. Tattoos added to the game were changed, and there's a whole lot of tattoo change. We're not going to go over all these. These are all changes to tattoos, and tattoos are now part of the game. Nothing complicated here. All these are small, minor changes. Some probably bigger than others. We're not going to go through all those. But tattoos are in, and tattoos have changes. Divination card changes. The Blessing of Moosh has been re-enabled. Divine Justice has been re-enabled. So just some additional divination cards and some changes to drops. Nothing big there. Ruthless specific changes. I don't play Ruthless. I don't care about Ruthless. You can look through all this if you want to have a miserable life playing Ruthless. And if you're mad at me because I said you have a miserable life playing Ruthless, you can leave a nasty comment in the comments below, and I'll go ahead and ignore it. Monster bouts. Improve the visual effect of the monsters that explode, making corpses more obvious. That's good. Rare monster item bonus mechanics are now rare. That's good. Cycling damage reduction has been reworked and now adapted for monsters will become resistant to the highest damage taken. That's a straight buff to that modifier. Tormented Spirits now are roughly 10% more life at level 68. The spells to roughly 50% more life at 83. Okay. Lycia's Lightning Wave skills receiving visual effects. Okay. Strongbox modifiers. Lever 5 +2 and +4 or 5 no longer roll. Okay, so Strongbox has got a little nerf. Unique strong boxes have +1 chest level previously +2. Strong boxes got nerfed. Strong boxes aren't going to be as rewarding as they used to be. Quest reward unit Sacred Wisp support is now offered to the Witch. New support now available on questing. Automation is now purchasable from completing the quest. Call to arms is now purchasable after completing the quest. That's fine. User interface changes. Add a notification for when you unlock a new map. Okay. Add an ability to control shift and let click a stackable item, move all copies of it straight to trade. That's good. This is a good change. Really positive, awesome change to just move everything from one side to the other side when you're trading with people. Modifiers on an item will now be displayed while hovering over the craft button. Pairs pressing Alt on your map now displays the monster level for the map. Okay. Updated scarab section of fragment dash tab. Okay. Bug fixes. I'm not going to go through bug fix. We'll go through these. This is the end of it. All right, fix the bug where the revived duration of domain time is not calculated correctly. Okay. Arc of Surging cannot target the same enemy. Okay. Physical attack damage leeches life on weapons with suffix instead of prefix. Okay. Rage Vortex and Blaze Storm were not canceled if you swapped a weapon type that these skills could not. Okay, that's a nerf to abusing weapon swaps. That's good. Fixed a bug where Wind Tunnel could not be affected by action speed modifiers. Okay, but chance to freeze only had 1% chance to freeze, now 25% chance to freeze. That's a buff to chance to freeze by monster modifier. Fixed a bug where Stygian Spires were affected by monster spiral additional projectiles. Abyss is no longer the farming solution. This is a straight nerf to the Abyss for farming Magic Biome and farming Abyss in general. Fixed the bug where Tormented Spirits would not function correctly when Delirium Demons could split them. Okay. Tormented Spirits would no longer be targeted by Delirium Demons. Okay. Penance Frame could fail to remove the energy from the target while they're hatching. It's failed to remove energy from the target while they're hatching. I don't understand this one. Maybe it's a nerf to Penance Frame. Maybe it's a buff. I don't know what energy from the target while they're hatching means. Fixed a bug where Iron Commander and Replica Iron Commander did not increase the number of transfigured siege and shrapnel bolts that you could place respectively as a buff. Fixed the bug where transfigured cooldowns with poison sockets, so the non-transfigured version with no cooldown would get the transfigured cooldown applied to the later socket in the socket. So I was not aware of this, but this is just a fix to a bug that you no longer have to deal with. It doesn't affect anything. It's a bug that broke some items fixed that no longer break items. Fixed a long-standing bug with lightning arrows visual effects where lightning strike effect from the sky played on targets hit by the arrow was also unintentionally played on extra targets. Okay, a visual bug fix. Fixed a bug where effects that occur when you curse a non-cursed enemy would still occur if you failed to apply a curse enemy due to no number of curse if you could apply them to 0. This is a nerf or a fix to some builds. Fixed a bug where changes made to the route caches impatient unique boots were not applying to existing versions of the items. Okay. Fixed a bug where route cut unique flask was granting onslaught even if it was not consuming charges on use. Okay. Fixed a bug where blade bulk would target the wrong location when supported by spell cascade. That's a fix. That's a good fix. Buff. Bug where lightning trap and sparking did not display how many chances. Visual fix. No one cares. Fixed the bug where slam spells sometimes do not alternate between main hand and offhand correctly. Okay. Fixed the bug where one of the favored map slots did not state it could be unlocked by completing to 17 map. Instead, just mentioning to 16 maps. That's not really a bug because your 17 maps aren't in the game yet until you launch them. But okay. Fixed a bug where one of the labyrinth crafting options stated it added more quality to a gem than it did. So it corrected 8% quality. Okay. Fixed the bug where Mad Key divination has a more ultimate aspect. It's like all aspect. Okay. Elements, there's weapon effect microtransaction, no one cares. Fixed the bug where visual effects on sorcerer one microtransaction, no one cares. I'm sure some people care about that microtransaction. I don't care about your microtransaction. Fix the client crash. Welcome to Path of Exile that got this. All right. A couple of moderate nerfs to existing builds, a couple of major nerfs to existing builds, a couple of complete wipes to existing builds. My take real quick is that most of this is good. The left click instant cast thing, I think it's garbage, but we'll play through it. It is what it is. Straight up nerfs to Tornado Shot, Pin and Sprint, some of the most powerful builds in the game. A lot of the other really powerful builds are not touched, so there will be a ton of existing, still perfectly viable, strong builds. Not a lot of changes in general. These transfigured gems, this could open up some new stuff here with some new transfigured gems and some new builds, new unique items, means new possible builds. So we have a lot of new builds, a couple of old nerfed builds. A huge hit to mana cost is going to really force existing builds that relied on mana cost reduction are going to have to change the way they do things. And it doesn't kill the builds, but it will force them to spend more resources on mana cost control or mana generation or mana in some way that they were previously using for damage. And so I think overall it's going to bring the top down a little bit. And it will also cause some builds previously that were kind of low to creep up because they were builds that did not rely on this mana cost reduction. All of the big builds relied on the flask mana cost reduction. And so I think we'll see a little bit of a shakeup on the build tiers, but overall, really positive changes. I think this will be very good. I think that's it for right now. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down in YouTube and below. If you want to ask me in person, come by my Twitch stream. I love getting questions in person. It's so much easier to answer questions and help with understanding in a give and take than it is in a you post a comment and then 3 to 8 hours later I post a comment and then 4 to 8 hours later you post a comment. Just stop by Twitch and ask a question. We'll figure out the answer to it. As always, if I don't have the answer to the question, we'll find it. I'm not perfect and I'm not brilliant and I don't know everything about PoE. I have like 30% of the knowledge of some of these people like Baylor Mage and Zizaran and all these guys that just know everything about the game. But I'm really good at finding the answer and figuring it out. So if you need a question answered, come by, hit me up. We'll figure it out. And I know you've been asked 1,000 times, like, follow, subscribe. These activities are critical to content creators so that we can continue producing content. So hit the subscribe below on YouTube, stop by Twitch, hit a like on Twitch, say hi, thanks a lot, peace out, or have a conversation, whatever you prefer. Thank you very much for watching the video, and you have a wonderful day.